Hello and welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Rabbit Hole Stories. Today, unfortunately, with me, Ian is sick. At least he claims to be. But for once, we're believing him, joking aside, obviously. He sounded very sick in a message he sent me. So regards go out to him to get healthy soon. And today we have Sean Sorry, that was my part. I had it written down. Today we have Sean McNamara. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yes.
McNamara, there we go.
Yeah.
Sean, it's lovely having you on, even though I just butchered your name. How's your day been going so far?
Yeah, it's been great. I've been looking forward to getting on this podcast with you, and thanks for having me as well. I like your podcast. I like all the content that you've been putting out, so it's a privilege to be here. Thanks for having me, Joelle.
Yeah, we got in touch after realizing that we kind of like both of our contents on LinkedIn, especially, and we kind of went like, oh, actually, I should have messaged you or arranged a call or something months ago. But that's how it is in the Bitcoin world. Sometimes it just takes a while until you get used to it. But speaking of it, how did you discover Bitcoin? How did you fall down a rabbit hole, and why did you stay to stick around?
Yeah, so it started in about 2015, I think it was, and it was when I became homeless, and then I got myself out of that situation. Luckily enough, I was qualified as an electrician, so it's quite easy for me to find work. I got myself somewhere to live, and after that experience, I started questioning the system a little bit, just sort of going deeper on topics, doing a little bit more, bit of reading. And then I figured, I found out about Bitcoin basically just after becoming homeless. That's it, really. Yeah, not too deep.
Oh, nothing too deep. Just like I didn't have a roof over my head, and I found Bitcoin. Like honestly, that would be like the most Bitcoiners question or answer to this, because like instead of buying new shoes or underwear, will be stackable sats. But finding Bitcoin, did you read a book? Did you hear about it in the news, or what was it?
Yeah, so I think originally I was watching a lot of Andreas Antonopoulos's
oh, great
videos, and then that sort of led me into it a little bit deeper, and then I can't remember what. I think it was like I was reading about blockchain wars around about that time, was it? No, and safety. These are the books that I can remember reading around about that time. It's been quite a long time, and then anything else I can just get my hands on, sort of articles online. What's that Bullish case with Bitcoin? I think I read that. Yeah, it's quite a few things.
VJ Bonner, I'm gonna butcher his name now, so just that guy. I could link the book below. But with your background as an electrician, do you think having to do a lot of that stuff also helped you understand, Bitcoin and the technical aspects, or was it mainly the as you mentioned, like homeless, I need to make money and I need to get out of this part that motivate you to look into Bitcoin?
Yeah, it was definitely I need to make money. Once I was looking for a new outlet. At the time, I studied to be an electrician just because I was. It was just a thing to do at the time. Lots of people were sort of getting involved in that, and I was in the construction industry, so it was definitely me looking for a way to make money. But then the more I went into the Bitcoin rabbit hole, I realized it's much bigger than just getting rich. The whole society is actually knackered, and it's much bigger than that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious because everyone I talk to and we discuss on the show here, a lot of them dabbled in the other junk that is out there as well. Was that also something appealing to you, coming from like the numbers up perspective and making money quickly, or were you right away Bitcoin only?
No, I wasn't Bitcoin only right away. I'd be surprised if anybody jumps straight into Bitcoin. You sort of, I think, cryptocurrency as a whole is a journey, and you sort of start dabbling in. Like, I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of people that I've spoken to about this, they sort of dabble in the shit coins and then sort of end up in the Bitcoin space only because they figure out that cryptocurrencies are of the same value as fiat, and it's just another broken system, or it's going to be broken soon.
Yeah, I mean, some of them literally broke. So, it's not like
good.
it's better than fiat or anything. Do you remember like the worst shitcoin you owned, or some of the worst beliefs looking back now as a Bitcoiner you had? Mine was like, when I started out, I remember Litecoin coming up. And this then sort of moved into this whole, being faster than Bitcoin. And I used to freelance for an agency who had one of these IoT as a blockchain service tokens, whatever. And I kind of looked at this. I was like, okay, that's really interesting, but like you can never really verify if like the supply chain works, if Banana on a blockchain works. And then I kind of went like, oh, okay, I think if I have to work for these projects and you get paid in tokens, unfortunately, if they survive, just dump it for Bitcoin. And that's what I've basically then been doing ever since. Like if they did not want to pay me in Bitcoin, I just moved on to, I'll get that shitcoin and I'll just turn it into good money, essentially. Do you remember any of like the worst tokens you had or something you believed there?
Not, I can't remember any specific. Like Ethereum's one of them. But that's only changed since like 2022, so since it's been on proof of stake, hasn't it? But prior to that, I was just trading them. Like I say, I was trying to get rich, not really diving deep into any of the projects. Just taking them at face value. The catalyst for a lot of them was that you'd see the price go up straight, like the volatility of them would just go like skyrocketing, and then all of a sudden they drop off down to around about zero pretty quickly, and you could tell in the communities that there was a lot of influences from big players that were influencing the pump, and then like sort of like telling you to buy now and then sell the top, and it was very manipulated. There weren't any fair market play going in, so and it's very stressful trading them.
I can imagine.
Very stressful.
I can imagine. So you went homeless in 2015. You found an outlet. You discovered Bitcoin. You start off with like the right guy with Antonopoulos, and then get into Fedin and the bullish case for Bitcoin. And I imagine a few years later, sort of the pandemic hits. For anyone out of the UK, you do know what happened there. We got literally locked down in our homes, and you weren't even to leave to go out to a garden or something. Was that time for you a time when you were already Bitcoin only and you could just use the time to learn more, or were you already in it before that?
I was already in Bitcoin before that, but it was I went deeper into Bitcoin not only because I had more time on my hands, but it aligned more with my values, and I could recognize that what the government were doing at the time, meaning that locking us away in our homes. I realized that I wasn't fully in control of what was truly mine at that moment. For example, people's businesses were just shutting down left, right, and centre, and even if you wanted to go to places like the gym, basic freedoms were just taken away from you. So, and that's all funded by fiat money. So it made me go a little bit deeper. I started listening to a lot more podcasts, reading a lot more articles, and topping up my bookshelf.
That's always a good exercise. I just got a new bookshelf behind me. I was like, yeah, I still got some space for a lot of books there to fill up. But going down that journey where you kind of end up at, so it's not just, for example, pensions are a scam or healthcare. It's a bit different in the UK, but generally speaking, like you put money into something where you hope, if you are then in the upper stages of that scheme, for example, the pension scheme, that the younger generation will also put money to basically pay for your life, because it's like every generation pays for its own. And then you just end up there where you go, oh no, like everything apart from this is a scam, unless we can somehow tie it to something pretty much tangible. Looking back at it now today, and I know this is quite a hard question because we're always much cleverer in the end. Do you think if something like the pandemic didn't happen, or your journey into Bitcoin with, being homeless and needing to find an avenue, would you still have found Bitcoin? Would it have touched you in some way?
I don't think it would have touched me as much as the pandemic taught me some valuable lessons. Would I have had as much time to spend studying on it? Would I have made as much time to understand it? Who knows? But I was given that time. So it's difficult to say, really.
Yeah, I can. Most of our guests answer the same if we come up in this direction, because besides Bitcoin, time is a very scarce asset, and we unfortunately don't have all of it. But so in the middle of the pandemic, I imagine you dig down deeper, you find all of these answers basically to what the entire system scam is. And then did you become more vocal on social media? Did you try to orange pill friends, or, that typical journey we all go through? How was life after that? Because as we knew, the lockdowns at one point ended and we could go out and spread the message of Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's quite easy to express your opinions on social media, isn't it? So near enough every outlet that I can get possibly express my opinion on it, I will, because it's not as confrontational, and you can sort of control it a little bit better. So if you was to sort of confront someone on their opinion in the street as opposed to on social media, it's a little bit easier to get your opinion across, because it could end up in conflict, couldn't it? But you can just quite easily ignore something on social media. So and with regards to orange pill friends, yes, that definitely was a factor, and a lot of people knew there was still know that there's something wrong with the system, but they're not sure what the answer is, because of the way the mainstream media that they digest portrays what Bitcoin is, I think.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And it's so ironic. Like, if I ask because a lot of my friends who are not into Bitcoin, they also ask me like, "Oh, what is so fascinating about this?" And I usually answer with like, "Can you explain to me what money is?" And like 99.9% of the time, it's just like, "Oh yeah, it's the stuff in your pocket," But it's not really. It's more than that. At the end of the day, there are various takes. And I've sort of had the habit of becoming the obnoxious Bitcoin among my friends. Do you have this as well, or were you able to convince a lot of them to actually also take a look at Bitcoin?
No, I don't feel like this sounds like a bad take, but I don't think I've fully made someone I don't think I've fully orange pilled someone. They always have this this ingrained ideology of the fiat system, like that's the safety net, and they refuse to take a leap. Like they will eventually buy Bitcoin, and they'll say, "Oh, I'll give this a try," but they've still got this ingrained fiat mentality that they believe is going to like save them, and it's like it's difficult for me to watch, really, because they're not willing to sort of pick up a book. They'd rather just like have someone like me, or you just like tell them, and it's hard to see, really.
Yeah, and from my experience, like I used to try to orange pill. Also, if I go to like shops and stuff, but I've from like more than a year, almost 2 years now, I've been at the point where I kind of get what Satoshi meant, but like either you get it or you don't, and I don't have time to explain it to you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because like, is it also beneficial, if we force something onto people, as we all know, in the Bitcoin ecosystem, as long as you play to the rules, you can take part in it, and you get verified with valid transactions in the next block. So is it really something to force people into it? I don't know. What do you think? Should we force Bitcoin down people's throats, or should it really be a discovery journey for them?
I've tried forcing it down people's throats, especially family members.
Oh yeah.
heated debates. It's more like me trying to just force the idea onto people. And it just doesn't work, because the more you try and force it, the harder they'll fight back, and the harder they'll try to find a way not to believe it, just because you're trying to force it down them. So I think if you just share your experiences with these people you're trying to orange pill, not family members though. Family members are still very difficult. But
Yeah.
like general friends, it's you just share your experiences and share other people's experiences with them, and just do it gently, because I don't think the fiat system was shoved down people's throats. It was just like it was a gradual process, wasn't it? So as Parker Lewis says, it'll be gradual, and then suddenly I think if we abide by that, I think that's the key to adoption, really.
Yeah, and I think it's also because if I checked your LinkedIn page, or profile, whatever it's called, there's also the mention of Bitcoin education in there. And if I think of positive examples of education, it's always where you'll get to discover and learn something at your own pace, in your own methods. And I think we should really much stick to that. But once you've went through the whole orange pilling things and you've tried, what motivated you into going down the Bitcoin education road, and especially what you're doing now with the publication? Because again, this is sort of a next step in I've understood Bitcoin. I want people to understand it as well. I failed maybe at my own circles to whatever reason. How can I get better in that? What's the goal behind your publication?
Yeah, so the educational process, in my mind, came from when I was scammed. I was part of a phishing scam.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it was through a person pretending to represent Coinbase on Reddit. I asked for help on there stupidly, and they reached out and asked me for my keys, and I was quite willing. So that sort of going through that issue made me think, okay, if I'm going through this painful journey, I don't want anybody else to go through it. So it's important that I share what I learn with other people. And figured out that educational process is important, because you can't recover your coins once they've gone. Which led me to sort of digesting the likes of the bigger publications like Bitcoin Magazine. I would listen to like what Bitcoin did, and I started figuring out that there's a lot of valuable information in these publications, but they're not offering true signal. I think they've got their own agendas. In my personal opinion, they may not have, but in my personal opinion, they're just sort of pushing ideas that suits their narrative, and it's not necessarily signal, as Jeff Booth puts it, through the noise.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I like Peter. I know most of the people of Bitcoin Magazine. I'm actually going to volunteer at a national conference next month.
Oh, very nice.
And they're not bad people or anything. But for example, with Peter, a lot of it is also very, sponsor driven, because he does obviously make a decent effort and stuff. And on Bitcoin Magazine's side, I'm always more like, they're more of a culture magazine, because like we have a funny Bitcoin culture with all of the bells and whistles. But it's never really something where I could say, I could send a friend to that site who's a total newbie and he would get started. I think there's more, I would send them probably more down the rabbit hole of, Antonopoulos, and maybe read that book or listen to that audiobook if you've got issues. Or yeah, as I know now, I can send them to your publication. And so you go through the education part, you discover there's a lack of resource, and then you just get up one day and decide, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing? Or have you tried also doing different avenues?
I tried different avenues.
Because a lot of people, go out and they write like a PDF file, something, an ebook, and then they send it out, or they do if you go on LinkedIn, you've seen the PDF slides, these documents,
Yeah.
and they try to educate this way. Was that something you did as well, or was it straight away, I'm going to start a blog and basically do a publication?
Yeah, I've tried the PDFs and sharing them on LinkedIn, but it doesn't seem to get that much momentum. And I started a blog, and then I was reading sort of David Bailey's tweets, and it was like, hang on a sec, if this guy is in charge of the biggest Bitcoin magazine, Bitcoin publication, then why is it accepted as the go-to Bitcoin publication, and sort of not questioned? So I started digging into that, and I was asking a lot of people, like, how is he like how is the magazine pushing this content that isn't truly Bitcoin related, but publicizes itself as a Bitcoin only magazine? So
yeah, with them especially, I think it's a lot of business decisions that drive it. We also have David on the show. I also know him personally. He's a good lad, so he's a fun guy to hang around with. But a lot of it is driven to, okay, how can we increase the revenue models of the business, which is fine. But if you want to increase revenue and be Bitcoin only, that's a very narrow market. And I imagine if they just open it up with like the affinity scams, the layer 2 stuff and things, it just becomes easier to sell.
Yeah. So if I was new to the space, especially like now it's the beginning of a new bull run, a lot of the newbies would be going to the magazine that says Bitcoin magazine on the front, and if they start reading articles about ETFs, for example, that's a fiat instrument. It doesn't really push the true value that Bitcoin offers. It lines pockets of richer people. Totally understand it. I totally understand how and why it works as well, but it can be quite misleading. So and there is information out there that's available that is strong towards the Bitcoin ethos. Like, for example, TFTC with Marty Bent. You start. That's very signal driven media, and he gets a large audience. So I think he's got like 200,000 followers on Twitter. And just the motives around this Bitcoin. There are other publications doing the same. It's just that this is the most popular, and I've got nothing against the people. I don't know the people. It's just like face value sort of opinion that I've got on it. And I just didn't like it because of what happened to me previously. I got scammed. I was wasn't misinformed. I was early on my journey, and I could have done with that guidance. And that's a publication that would be extremely helpful to a newcomer. And if they go onto that page and start reading about spam and fiat instruments, but each to their own, I guess.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's also something I think you always have to play a bit devil's advocate there, because I do see this in my personal work. I do have to write about stuff like the ETFs. If there's big news, like, I don't know, all of them hold more than 1 million Bitcoin worldwide. Shit, that's a big number.
Yeah.
If you imagine that's 21th of whatever Bitcoin will be available ever, and they already own that, and was it been 6 months or something, or 5 months at this point? So, there's a gradual process there, and it's a means to an end. But I think you can do it very simply. You can explain what the difference is between real Bitcoin, aka self-custodial Bitcoin, and you can explain what this instrument is that is sort of bridging this weird gap between the fiat world and the people who still want to live in that world, but they want exposure to Bitcoin. So I think as long as you do that nuance, you're actually good. And if you don't do it, and not doing it on purpose, then that's what I meant before that. Then you're just a culture, magazine, website, channel or something that is highlighting the benefits, but probably not really sticking up to the ethos completely.
Yeah, I don't dispute that at all. I recognize the value of the ETFs, especially for the adoption, but
Yep.
not at the demise of the true infrastructure that's being built on top of Bitcoin. All the new technology layer twos
Yep.
that respect the Bitcoin ethos is sort of being overshadowed by the ETFs is something that is new and it's fresh and it's happened this year, so it's going to be reported on a lot. But we mustn't forget the baseline values of what Bitcoin represents, because for some reason the whole, well, most of the Bitcoin space are giving the ETFs all this airtime, and they're explaining how the person with the most Bitcoin is going to be the winner at the end, and that's not necessarily true. Like they have a lot of leverage, I get it, but one vote is one vote on a node, isn't it? So we mustn't let it sort of overshadow what it really represents, because we can get lost, is what I'm trying to say.
How do you feel about individuals like a Michael Saylor, for example, or I sometimes struggle with this, like this over glorification of, like, oh, Jack has donated 10 million, but like, Jack was also running fucking Twitter when the FBI and CIA was involved. And Saylor, a lot of his Bitcoin that he's buying is out of a crazy leverage bet he's making with the stock as a security. So it's working out. We're all seeing it. The strategy is playing out because of Bitcoin. But this whole, like, we're putting people on the pedestal, is this really something we should be doing in the Bitcoin ecosystem?
Bitcoin's going to take as long as it needs to sort of to get across to the right, to the people it needs to. You get into Bitcoin when
the time's right.
Yeah, when the time's right. So the likes of Saylor and Jack publicizing it the way they do, they're just emphasizing what they're sort of offering to the space, I guess. Like Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy plan is it was a risk, and it's paid off. I don't look like, cause if I was in that position, I would be sort of I'd be happy, and I'd want to talk about it all the time. But I don't think we need to put these. I don't think we need to create celebrities. I think the fiat system's already created these celebrity figures, and we know it doesn't bode well, like, most of the time. No, I don't think we need to put these celebrities on the pedestal, because it's a cathedral mindset, isn't it? So we don't need to emphasize the fact quickly and just spam it. But I think that's going to be a learning curve anyway.
Yeah, most definitely. And I then often have to chuckle a bit, because I then think, you read from everyone, like, have low time preference, don't spend more than you save. And then we sort of move back into this thing like, oh, celebrities, cool. So it's like, it's a shift between both worlds.
Yeah.
But speaking of these things, has your behavior changed since you've gone and realized, like, what Bitcoin can do? Do you are you more of a saver? Do you lower time preference? Do you think about things differently? Or has it also impacted maybe your behavior with friends and family differently?
No doubt. So I keep as little fiat currency in my bank account as possible, just enough to pay the bills that I need to pay. And then if that account goes to zero, I just allow it. Any saving will be strictly converted into Bitcoin, and I'm obviously trying to build a business that will eventually be paid in Bitcoin. So from a monetary point of view, my mindset is completely changed. I would never have thought about saving previously. That's probably how I ended up homeless. If it come to think about it, I just live wild and free sort of thing. But now I'm sort of lowering my time preference in a sense that I'm thinking about the decisions that I'm making now are how are they going to affect my two children's future. So I'll take more time. I'll spend more time with them and just value every single time I pick them up, and I'll hug them a little bit longer, and because it just goes so fast, doesn't it? So I'm just trying to think what else it's affect my behaviours on.
Do you consume as much as you did before? Like, you know, my behavior sort of changed. Like, okay, I don't have a TV now because like I've just moved. But even if I have a TV, you know, I'm not sitting on the couch all night and watching the silly next Netflix show or something. If I watch something, it might be something I'm interested in, like a documentary. I've recently stumbled down this YouTube channel and a rabbit hole where they speak about they call it the deep state in a sense, not in like the conspiracy state, but like with, you know, military enforcement and all of this, the crazy stuff that's been going on between the media and the intel services. And I sometimes just sit there and go like, I think I would have never taken out the time to also then research these things if I did not have learned what I've learned through Bitcoin, through, you know, you've got to taking your time and understanding these things. Have you seen or noticed a change in that behavior for you, or maybe something like shopping or buying goods and stuff?
Yeah, so the consumerist in me disappeared when I started going deeper into Bitcoin, because I realized that I was just trying to consume things, especially shopping. I used to love buying lots of trainers, sneakers for the American listeners.
Which doesn't make sense because you're not sneaking if you're wearing trainers, but like, yeah, that's a different topic.
Yeah, so I started buying less and buying more of the same things. So my decisions, it was easy for me to make quick decisions as well. Like I just wear jeans and t-shirts and a hoodie now, whereas before I try and be like quite fashionable. And I wouldn't say I'm not fashionable now, but
it's just simplified, yeah.
Yeah, very, very simplified and less of as well. Like I'll replace something if I need to replace something, and if I can fix it, I'll fix it.
Yeah, most definitely.
But that's difficult in a consumerist culture because most things are made to be replaced. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah, if when I started buying furniture for my place now, I think I could have bought everything within a span of a month, but I spent countless hours, you know, researching like what wood is this table made out of, or this bookshelf, just because I wanted to know, okay, if there's a scratch on it, if something breaks, you know, if I fuck something up while building it, can I actually fix it and maintain the longevity of it? And again, this is just because like I'm working Bitcoin. I discovered Bitcoin, and I'm interested in it. And I find this fascinating. If I then tell this to my friends, it's like, "Are you the crazy guy in the forest, you know, building his own house?" And I kind of sit there and go, like, "This sounds amazing. Like you've built actually something with your own hands, and you're able to then live in it. What's there to not like about this?" So this whole situation between like fast and break things in the fiat world, and just take your time, dude, and maybe wear these sneakers a few months longer, and then you're able to basically also get something out of it, or buy this table and like give it to your next kind of generational to kids, or maybe like your relatives, or whatever it is. So having that and realizing what you can actually get out of something, or just throw it away and break it. This is what really fascinates me about the whole Bitcoin ecosystem.
Yeah, I've got this pair of shoes that when I walk, they have a squeak.
Yeah, I have that too.
And previously, I was just like, "Oh, let's buy a new pair and just put them in the bin." But now I'm like, that could be more sats, and every squeak is a sat.
Yeah,
so it's like, yeah, won't get rid of them.
My old pair of trainers was literally they had a hole in the left shoe, like right in the middle, where like your foot drops down on the pavement.
Yeah.
And they were squeaking, and I knew, okay, I can wear them if it's nice, sunny, and dry outside. Just don't wear them if it's raining. So, I would just interchange my shoes based on the weather, which is also not a bad thing to do, also for the longevity of the shoe. But like whenever I would leave my home and I go down the stairs, and you just hear them everywhere in the house. So I was like, okay, I guess my neighbors know that I'm leaving home again. But yeah, I totally feel this. Like, as long as you can wear it and it really doesn't break anything in your body or it harms you, then I think you should do it.
Yeah, we're more resilient than we realize, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, without that dependency.
Most definitely. So you've now got the publication, as you mentioned previously. You also want to, at one point, really get on that Bitcoin standard. For you, what would a hyper-Bitcoinized world look like?
Where we're all sorry, go on.
Will look like. Sorry, I should actually use the right
terminology.
there.
Yeah, that's all right. What does a hyper-Bitcoinized? Well, we're all free to make our own decisions without any oppression, I guess. Whether that's the way you use your money, or what you say in a public space, whether that's online or whether that's in the real world. Yeah, that's all I've got. I don't really think too far into it, because I'm probably going to be wrong. But I'll make I'll make small choices daily to sort of go towards how that looks, because we can only decide it ourselves, can't we? At the end of the day.
What you just said is one of the most common answers I know in Bitcoin. If I ask my banker friends, or some of them work in insurance and like PE, they know it all. Oh yeah, I can tell you what stock is going to the roof. You just need to do this and that, or invest in my fund. That's mostly the answer. If I ask a Bitcoiner, the most common answer is, I don't know what the future holds, and I don't need to know. I'll just go day by day. Regarding Bitcoin, obviously, everyone has plans and visions and stuff. So I think this is really one of the secret superpowers we have in the community. We take it as it is. We know it will grow. We know it has established itself already. But there's no need to like further hype up anything, because Bitcoin is just there. Every 10 minutes, a new block comes. And that's more than enough than what we need to know.
That's true. Yeah, totally agree with that. It's amazing when you figure out that there's other people thinking like that as well, because you sort of focusing on your little things, and then you discuss these little ideas with like-minded people, and it's just a normal process. But for some reason, the fiat system decides it's weird. We've got to try and fix it, and we've got to have a plan for the future, and then suddenly there's a big depression and depression and sort of pandemic. So because we're always trying to plan too far ahead, and we just need to focus on what's available in the here and now.
Yeah, and even with the stuff we planned, it doesn't work, as we've seen in the pandemic. Like, the response was horrible anyway.
It's very, very stupid.
Yeah. But before heading to the closing end of the show, what you just mentioned, speaking of, you see this fiat thing, and people from the fiat world look at you and go like, that's a bit weird. Sometimes I think the comparison between the internet and Bitcoin are, they're just there. Bitcoin is actually growing faster than the internet, leaving that aside. But this is what it must felt like working at these companies. And then I imagine, look what has become out of that whole revolution. So just looking at the potential Bitcoin companies have, and I'm not talking about brokers, exchanges, but something like you do, publications, you have the education part, you also have these layer solutions. Knowing that we've grown faster than the internet, surely at one point we will have that point of mass explosion, not in a negative term, where it's just, so if we grow faster than before, the outcome must just be so much better. So if you look at it and come to the conclusion that Bitcoin is negative, you just have not done your research. Or, in other words, what I'm trying to say is, how bullish are you on Bitcoin's future, or just on Bitcoin in general? And what is it that interests you going forward?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree that it's going to be a sudden explosion. I think it's going to be slow, and it's going to be steady, and it's going to be painful for a while.
Oh, nice.
And there's going to be a lot of fighting the narrative, and
which is also fun.
It is if you enjoy fighting the narrative.
I mean, I'm talking about fighting the narrative on social media, you know.
Yeah, shit posting.
Exactly.
It's a way of life. Yeah, I just think it's going to be slow, and it's going to be like this for a long time, and then before we know it, we're all just going to be like, it's the norm. HyperBitcoinization. I don't think it's going to be an event. I think it's going to be a journey rather than a destination. And I think that's what building a business is like. It's a journey rather than a destination.
That's interesting. That's a cool way to end it. A cool way to head into the ending segment of the show, because Sean, you've mentioned you've listened to the podcast or you see the content. We do have one saying in the community that all roads lead to Bitcoin, and we want to prove that. So what we do is at the end, we'll ask our guests a word, a phrase, or an association that you can link back to Bitcoin. If you don't know anything, nothing comes to mind, you can always say you can buy or pay for this with Bitcoin, because that's also true, technically speaking. But what I thought about today, because you've mentioned you've been an electrician, and you know, energy, electricity and stuff is a big involvement of Bitcoin mining. The word of the day for you would be voltage. How does voltage relate anyhow back to Bitcoin?
It powers the miners.
Okay, fuck, that was too easy, yeah.
Well, it's voltage and current, isn't it? But yeah, it powers the miners, and that's how we produce those little Bitcoin babies.
Nice, short and sweet. I like it. Before we close the show, Sean, if people want to get in touch also about the publication, where are the best places to find you? And if you want to shill anything, please feel free to do so now.
Yeah, you can find, if you just head to our website, so it's www.bitesizebitcoin.xyz. You can contact me via email, sean@bitesizebitcoin.xyz, and follow our Twitter page, which is bitesizemag_. As far as shelling something is, the latest issue of Bitesize Bitcoin magazine is out now and available on the website. It's free to the readers, so yeah, I implore you to take a look at that and find some signal through the noise. Nice.
And what is your main social platform? Is it LinkedIn, X, or are you basically everywhere?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Sean McNamara on LinkedIn, and I'm on Twitter, X, as Toxic Maxi Capybar. That was a personal joke between me and a friend. Yeah, so I do plan to change that, but we're just going for a funny little phase. Long story.
No, nice. We'll link all of the links down in the show notes. Sean, it was lovely having you on, and I'm fascinating through all of the journeys you went through that ended up with you being in Bitcoin. Thanks for your finite time, and as always, also thanks to our guests for their finite time. And you guys know the drill. Stay curious.